So, I took one of those DNA tests.
You did?
Yeah, where you like spit on stuff.
Oh, that's so gross.
Yeah, but they're supposed to tell you all about your family and everything.
But I don't want to know your family.
Well, but I have an aunt who she did all of my genealogy all the way back to Adam. And so
oh, good.
we know exactly where we're at and everything.
Are you descended from royalty?
Well, so like I'm a quarter Native American.
That's not royalty.
And I'm like a quarter African. I can't remember if it was Nigerian or Ghanaian or South African, but it's something in Africa. And then I'm like a quarter Greek, and I'm like a quarter Jewish, and I'm like another quarter Pakistani, and a quarter Japanese, and a quarter like Mongolian Russian. It's like a mix back
You
then.
have too much math going on. I can't think of those big numbers.
A quarter plus a quarter plus a quarter plus a quarter plus a quarter.
Oh, stop! La 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 la
Well, but
la.
I got two parents, so all the quarters add up to 2.
Okay.
And then the most interesting one is like an Australian Aborigine. Like I think it's a great grandmother, and I know this because whenever I like read National Geographic and they're doing something on Australia, it's like looking at my brother.
That's scary. Like, what's National Geographic? Is that like People magazine?
Yeah, it's like People magazine, only for people who like pictures.
But I like pictures. I get picture books from the library all the time.
Yeah, well, maybe next time, Bambi, I'll have to show you what a National Geographic looks like.
As long as the Kardashians in it, I'm okay with that.
Is that some kind of a whale or?
How can we be dating if you don't know who the Kardashians are?
Whatever. Anyway, so I'm looking at my email here, and Ancestry says I got my results back. So they're going to tell me,
What's Ancestry?
That's like my DNA.
Oh.
Yeah. And so they're going to tell me that I'm a quarter Native American and a quarter Greek and a quarter Pakistani and a quarter Japanese and a quarter Aborigine and a quarter African. And
those don't have royalties, so you must not be.
Oh yeah, African royalty? Zulu, Montezuma?
I don't know what you're talking
Mansa
about.
Musa?
All I know is about the British royalty.
Shaka, Wakanda. You know, remember we saw that Black Panther movie? They got royalty.
Wakanda, okay.
Yeah, so we're going to go and let's see what, this is pretty exciting because I haven't seen this yet, but
okay.
They're ready. So here's,
okay.
Get ready to, hey, wait a second. Wait a second.
I like all the pretty colors. Oh, that's a map. I've seen a map before.
No.
I've seen a map.
No. Wait a second. Look, Wakanda's right here.
And it's black. Wait, I wish they'd put some more pretty colors.
And Pakistan's over here.
Why is it all black?
I don't know. There must be something wrong here. What is going on here?
You know, they don't have any pink. Why is there no pink?
I don't know. Overview. Let's see. Overview. What is overview? Overview. Well, I got these colors over here, and I got these colors right here. Why are these colors right here? Yeah, it's Phil. Norway. Sweden.
They have, they have kings and queens there.
What kings and queens are in Norway and Sweden?
Oh, they're in the prince and me and stuff.
Oh.
And
Frozen.
Elsa. The Elsa, yeah! You're related to Elsa!
Okay, but Norway and Germany and France and the United Kingdom, where's like all my...
You're related to Will and Kate!
Yeah, but where's my ancestors that my aunt researched?
I don't know.
Let's see, where's Nigeria? See, Nigeria's right here and Ghana's right here, and there's nothing on Nigeria and Ghana. What's wrong?
You're asking the wrong person. Like,
this thing's wrong. This thing's got to be wrong.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because look, there's nothing. Mongolia and Russia here, and Japan. There's nothing. And I told you about. I mean, Australia Aborigines. I look just like them. I mean, look at this. I mean, you know, I'm mixed with Japanese,
You're
so you
really
gotta
attractive, honey.
you gotta add the Japanese in there. But I look like them, and it's not showing up. Why is it not showing up?
I don't know.
Let me try this again. Maybe they got it wrong here.
Well, do they do that? Why would the company get it wrong?
Well, I mean, you know, sometimes you got it wrong. Okay, so let's see what it says. It says 63% England and Wales. That can't be right. 14% Norway, 12% Ireland, Germanic Europe. There's
These
no
are big,
way.
There's big numbers.
Yeah, there's none of the stuff that I know I am.
Are you sure?
Absolutely sure. Because my aunt, she did all the research, so it's got to be right. In fact, I think she put it online somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Huh. Well, there was something about matches. What was that?
We're gonna play
DNA
with fire?
matches. Maybe. All right. Ancestry results for Phil Garnett. Andrew Lee's self-twin. What?
You have a twin?
Twin?
Do you have one of those Doofenshmirtz?
The Doofenshmirtz.
Yeah. You know, where somewhere around the world there's like a twin, but you didn't know it was your twin. But your twin?
I don't think it's called a Doofenshmirtz.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not. Andrew
Okay.
Lee.
But it's a thing, right? Because they have it in People magazine all the time. Where they
Yeah.
have those people that look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Is that you?
That might be. Well, that's not me.
Are you sure?
Well, yeah, because
Let's
I'm
see.
Phil Garnett. See, right here, it tells me I'm Phil Garnett. This is some guy, Andrew Lee. And, I mean, he doesn't
have enough hair.
He doesn't look like me at all.
Yeah, he needs more hair. I wonder if he's bald.
You know what? Let me see if I can't find him. Maybe
Okay.
maybe he is somewhere. Let's look on the internet over here.
Go to IMDb. Maybe he's an actor.
Let's see here. There's a football player named Andrew Lee.
Really?
I don't think that's the same one. I don't think that's
You
the
know,
same one.
he doesn't look very muscular.
Oh, there's this Family History Fanatics with an Andrew Lee. That sort of looks like him. What do you think?
Oh, Fanatics. I know what Fanatics are. They like rock bands and stuff. I wonder what rock bands they like.
So hey, we got a phone number here. Where's my phone? Here, let's call up this Andrew Lee guy, okay? Let's see, there's his number. And yeah, we'll see if he's here.
What are you gonna say to a stranger?
I wonder who this is. Hello?
Hello. Yeah, I'm looking for Andrew Lee.
Who is this?
This is Phil Garnett.
And Bambi.
And this is my girlfriend Bambi. She's with me.
I'm Andy Lee.
Yeah. Hi. Oh, you go by Andy? Okay. So I was looking on Ancestry, and it's saying that you're my twin.
Oh, so we share 3,500 centimorgans?
Hi, twin.
Okay. So I'm a little confused here. What does it mean when it says you're my twin?
It means we have the same DNA.
Oh, we have the same DNA. Well, how can that be?
Actually, Phil, you're not a real person. You're just a caricature I made up.
What?
What? What's he saying? What's he saying?
Andy's saying that I'm not real.
Oh, you're totally real.
I'm
sweetie.
totally real because we're right here.
And you know, nobody can make up this hair.
Bambi's not real either.
He says you're not real either.
Are you sure? What does that mean?
I'm confused.
You still confused? Well, let's give you some more information. Howdy, I'm Andy Lee with Family History Fanatics, and this is a segment of DNA. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and click on that bell if you want to be notified about upcoming episodes. A few months ago, I showed you how to take a DNA test, and we started our experiment of looking at two tests by the same person with the same company at different times using different names so they wouldn't know whether or not it was the same person, to show whether or not those DNA results are something that the labs are making up or if they are actually analyzing that DNA. And today, you're going to see the results. Now, I wanted to look at this in a lot of different ways, and so there's 5 things I'm going to go over in the video today. First is the ethnicity results. Second is the matching results. Third is going to be the raw data, and fourth, a chromosome comparison. And finally, I'm going to tell you why it took so long to make this video. So let's start with the ethnicity results. If we go and we look at my DNA and Phil's DNA side by side, when we come at the ethnicity results, it's actually almost the same. You can see that the England-Wales category, they both have 63%. The Norway category also both has 14% for both of us. Now remember, they got these results at 2 different times, and it's the same person. So we would expect them to be the same, but this is the exact same. Now the last 2 categories, the Germanic Europe and the Irish Scotland, is off by a couple percentage points, but again, we're talking about a updated algorithm during that time, as well as more people that have tested. And as you'll see in a little bit later, the raw data is actually a little bit different between the two. And so the fact that that raw data is a little bit different, well, that's why we have just a little bit different results on here. But for the most part, Phil and Andy are the exact same as far as their ethnicity results. So we're going to score a point for Ancestry for getting both of our ethnicity results almost identical. Next, let's go and look at our match list. And what I've done is I've broken this match list down into 2 major things. And I'll go over these and then I'll tell you about all the other matches. Now, I did not go through all 50,000 of the matches between me and Phil because I don't have that much time. And I don't think you want to see 50,000 lines of matches here. But what I did is I looked at our closest matches. So first off in this table, we can see the close family members. And these are some of my aunts and a cousin and a great aunt. And I've color-coded them so that the blue ones are from my father's side and the red ones are from my mother's side. Overall, you can see that they're all clustered around the exact same numbers for each one of the matches. Now, there is a percent or a 0.5% off, but not much. The most that we see is that 2.1% for one of my aunts that is different between Phil and myself. But since the numbers aren't always above or since they're not always below, it actually averages out to a really low difference overall between these matches. And it's better when I look at my next set of matches. These are the cousins that fell into the second cousin category on Ancestry. And you can see again, just like with the others, there is just a little bit of difference between them. But one of the things I found most fascinating is there's actually 3 matches there that we have the exact same amount of shared DNA. And as I get to the next results with the raw data, you'll see why this is actually pretty amazing for the results that we had. Overall, though, it is, again, just around that 1%. There is one match there that is about 6% different, but it's all pretty equal overall. Looking at those 2 groups of people, the average difference is about minus 0.4%. Not that much as far as shared DNA. And particularly when I'm looking at second cousins and my close family members, 0.4% is really a rounding error because the ranges that you would expect in those are much more than what 0.4% would show. So I'm going to give Ancestry another point for our match lists being basically identical. Now, I did go through third cousins and several pages of fourth cousins. I did not find a single match that Phil had that Andy didn't have, or that Andy had that Phil didn't have. So there are no hidden matches there between them. Basically, I'm saying these 2 match lists are nearly identical. Now we get to the really interesting part. And this was actually something I was not expecting. And here's the reason why. Ancestry started off with 1 chip, and then they changed to a second version of that chip, and so it's version 2. So if you look at the data files for both Phil and for Andy, it says that these were both tested on version 2 of the chip. But let me show you what's happening here. There's really 4 things that can happen. First off is you could have SNPs that aren't in common. And this happens a lot whenever you're comparing company to company because they each select a different set of SNPs for their analysis. The second thing that you can have is a SNP with the same call. And this is really what we're expecting with twins, or in this case, myself testing against Phil, who's really me. Third, we could have some SNPs that are no calls. And that would mean that either when I tested or when Phil tested, there was something wrong in the processing where they weren't able to actually make a call on that. These should be a very low percentage overall of the SNPs. And finally, the worst thing that can happen is we have SNPs of a different call. This would mean that, hey, there's something in the processing where one time when we're testing, it's calling it one thing, but the other time we're testing, it's calling it something else. Now, if these were really high, then it would be an indication that the companies are just making some stuff up and giving you some information that isn't really reflective of what your DNA is. So what did I find when I looked at the raw data? And this here is really what was the most fascinating to me. And that first line is the SNPs that are not in common. It was more than 20%. So even though when I tested in 2017 with Ancestry, and then again when I'm testing in 2019 as Phil with Ancestry, it's version 2 of their chip, but there's 20% of the SNPs that are not in common. That is a lot of SNPs that they have gone and they've changed which SNPs they're using. So for instance, there's some SNPs that Andy has that Phil doesn't have. And there's some SNPs that Phil has which Andy doesn't have. And these constitute about 1/5 of all of the SNPs that we're talking about. So we're talking about 150,000 SNPs that are not in common between the two tests, even though it's the same company using the same version of their chip. Now, where this is really interesting is because when you're comparing with other people, these SNPs that are not in common can make a big difference. For instance, if there's SNPs that you don't match with somebody and they happen to be in the middle of where otherwise it looks like you're matching, then that segment may not be called a match, and so your matches should be disappearing. Or you may have some more matches that are appearing because of those SNPs that are not in common. But as I already showed you on my match list, there was no difference between them. And so even though we've taken 20% of what they've tested and it doesn't match, it doesn't affect the overall match list, which is indicative of the fact that these are results of my DNA and not some random information that's being put together by some company. So I'll give Ancestry an extra point for that one. I still don't know why they decided to change what SNPs they had, and they're still calling it the same version of the chip. So next you can see that 78% of my SNPs were the exact same call as Phil's SNPs. And this is honestly exactly what I was expecting. There shouldn't be very many SNPs that are different. And as we look at the no call, it is less than 1%, which again, that's what we expect. And finally, the different call. Now, I believe on my video before in January, I said that it's probably going to be less than 0.1%. And you can see there was about 0.09% of SNPs that were a different call. Now, this is really part of the statistical analysis and the processing of it, that some errors could be expected. But again, even though there was some of these that were not the same call, it didn't affect my overall match list. So it's still showing that I'm matching with all the same people at almost the exact same amount of centimorgans with everyone. So in essence, these differences are negligible. They don't affect the overall results of my DNA. So let's give Ancestry another point for our raw data being nearly identical. Finally, I want to look at a chromosome by chromosome comparison. And this is from the GEDmatch Genesis system between my kit that I tested in 2017 and Phil's kit that he tested in 2019. And you can see here, it's all green all the way across and all blue. But most importantly, if we go down to the bottom, we can see that I am matching across 22 segments, which is one for every single one of those autosomal chromosomes. And 99.992% of all SNPs are fully identical. Now, GEDmatch does not use all of the SNPs that Ancestry is using when they're testing, but they use about 2/3 of those SNPs, about 400,000 of those. So some of those SNPs that were different may have fallen off on that, and that's why it's showing 99.992% the same. I'd say that's pretty close to fully identical. So another point for Ancestry for getting my chromosome by chromosome comparison to be identical. Now, if you've been following along, you know that I took this test back in January. And actually, I think I might have taken it at the end of December, and we sent it in the first part of January. I was expecting to get my results in about 6 weeks because that's typically what Ancestry gets. Now, it was after the Christmas rush, so maybe I was expecting 8 weeks, but certainly not as long as it took. At the same time I tested, I had some other family members test as well. They all got their results back by the middle of February. Some of them got their results back by the end of January. So even though it was right after the big Christmas rush, there shouldn't have been a problem with processing. So by the middle of February, everybody else has gotten their results, and I'm wondering, why hasn't Phil got his results yet? And it said they were supposed to be ready by the 27th of January, which was long past already. So I held off for another couple weeks. Let me take you through the timeline of what happened. So on March 2nd, I got an email, or actually Phil got an email from Ancestry that says, hey, thanks for taking the DNA test, but we've had some issues and your test was flagged for some reason. And I thought, interesting. I wonder why they flagged my test. So they asked me some questions. And as you can see from these questions, hey, have you taken more than one DNA test from Ancestry? Well, yeah, that would be a flag because, in essence, I had. Do you know of any other siblings or family members? Well, if my twin had taken a test, then yeah, that would be the same DNA on there. So, I think Ancestry already knows what's going on. They're not just pulling random information. They actually know that it's me because they already have me in their database and it's matching up with me. Have you had any medical procedures? I actually did a video on that of what medical procedures might be able to show up on a DNA test. And then finally, when you originally did this test, was there any problems with your sample? So I'm suspecting, back at the beginning of March, that Ancestry already knows that, hey, we've got these results. They look exactly identical to somebody else's results that we have in the system. Now, there's been lots of people that have found close relatives, and probably some that have even found brothers or sisters that they didn't know about. So I can understand why Ancestry might want to do a double check to make sure that they've got all their ducks in a row before they give me my results. But I had to answer back this email, and really Phil had to answer back this email. Now the whole point of this was to test whether or not the company would be able to find that I was related to myself and that our results were the exact same. So if I told them the truth, that would sort of invalidate the test. So right now, Ancestry, I'm sorry, but in this email, I lied to you. I probably broke all the terms and services conditions, and if you cancel this account, I understand completely. But I wanted to show that DNA tests from the same person are going to be the same. So you can see that here I answered, hey, no, I haven't ever tasted before, and I said that I was adopted because then that gives them a plausible story of why these two people are coming up the same, and of course no medical procedures and no other problems with the test. Now after I had sent that, I figured it was going to just be a couple of days and then they'd have my results, because they've got to have my results already to even flag it that there's a problem. But 2 weeks later, hadn't seen anything. So I sent him another email saying, hey, haven't seen anything for a couple of weeks since the last time you contacted me. Do you need any more information? Look, what do you know? 2 days later, Ancestry replies back, hey, thank you for providing that information, and we hope this will resolve the quality issues that we found. Now, remember, they still have not told me what those quality issues are. They have not told me that I have a twin out there right now. And look at that date, 3/18/2019. Well, interestingly enough, on 3/18/2019, less than 2 hours after Phil received that email from Ancestry, Andrew received an email from Ancestry. And judging by the words of it, it looks pretty much the same as what Phil received. Hey, your test was flagged as possibly having some quality issues. And guess what? They had the exact same questions for me. The same questions that they asked Phil, they asked Andy. So already now, I know that they've linked these two kits together. Because as soon as they told Phil, yeah, don't worry, we got all your information, they email Andy and they want to know, hey, is there something wrong with your kit? Something else that we may need to know. Now, since I'm Andy, of course, I can tell the truth. Now, I'm not going to tell it the exact same way that Phil would say it by, outlining everything by those questions. So I just sent him a quick email. Hey, I took my ancestry, like 2 years ago. I have several ancestors that I found. We've used this in a lot of our genealogy research. Thanks a lot. I don't have any medical or unusual conditions. And that email was sent on the 19th of March. So about 2 weeks later, Phil's getting a little bit restless because, again, he took the test the end of December. It has been 3 full months. And like I said, all my relatives, they all got their results within 6 weeks of when they took the test. So it's been 3 months and I don't have my results back yet. I also got some friends that took the test at the same time and they all have their results. So Phil is letting Ancestry know that, hey, you can't hold this out forever. You gotta tell me something sometime because everybody else that I have that I know has tested it, they've got their results back. You gotta have something for me. Well, they did. On the 3rd, so the next day, Ancestry replies back to Phil saying, hey, don't worry about it. We're getting this last part figured out, and you're going to be the first to know when we have your results. When did those results come? The very next day. And that's the results that I showed you today. It was 3 months, and they contacted not only Phil about this issue of basically DNA matching somebody else in the database, but they also emailed me, Andy, because our DNA kits matched. And so if you have taken a test and your results are not coming back and you're getting emails like this, you probably want to be prepared for the fact that there are some very close relatives in the database, some that you may not know about. Now, I don't know if they do this for parents or for half siblings, but obviously for twins, for people that are themselves, they do this. So if you have any questions about taking a DNA test, put it in the comments below. And if you think these are still scams and they're just making the information up, I can't help you because I already showed you that our results are identical. Ancestry did not know who Phil was, and unless they're watching this video, they still don't know who Phil is. I hope you like that DNA reveal, and if so, give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends.